I'm here once again to respond to more of your guys' hot takes and bad gaming opinions. I like doing these videos every now and then, and like I said in the last video of this series, I want to start doing them more frequently, which is true because I'm just a big fan of community-driven videos where we're not talking about any one thing in particular. It's a bit more laid back and relaxed, and we can just go wherever the conversation takes us in a more one-on-one setting. So I posted on my YouTube community tab page and on Instagram, which yes, I have an Instagram. I don't really post there pretty much ever, but I want to start posting there more frequently, so you should follow me there. But I posted asking you guys to tell me more, again, of your hot takes and bad opinions, and I'm going to respond to them. This video is meant to just be kind of lighthearted, fun, maybe have a friendly debate, or maybe I'm gonna agree with you on every single thing. But again, don't take it too seriously. If I disagree with you, please don't hate me. But anyway, let's get into some of these videos. But first, hit that subscribe button if this is, again, for some reason, the first video of mine that you're watching. If this is your first time here, I talk about video games all the time. I do day one reviews, other video game discussions, that sort of thing. But enough of that. Let's get into these hot takes. This first one, Skyrim is overrated. I can understand why people like it, but its success really doesn't feel proportionate to its quality. You know, this is kind of a hard one for me to talk on because Skyrim is one of the most popular games of all time. It's one of the games that's like always in the top of the charts, and it's one of the games that always has the most people playing it, at least from what I've gathered. But me, I've never played it. I've never played Skyrim. I've played Fallout 3 way back in the day, played Fallout 4 when it came out. I'm a big fan of Starfield, but I'm not that well versed in some of Bethesda's other games, including Skyrim. But I can tell you this, I can feel in my heart and my soul that when I do play Skyrim, I think I'm gonna like it a lot. And I get what you mean when you say that its success doesn't really feel proportionate to its quality, but I have a feeling that's not why people like it, because of its quality. Bethesda is known for all of their games to have bugs and glitches and to not necessarily be the most polished games out there, but what they do have is substance. They have a dense amount of stuff to do. They have great exploration, a great world, usually great narratives, and that's what people want, and I think that's being showcased a lot more lately. Again, I know I keep bringing these two games up in a lot of my recent videos, and again, full disclosure, I liked these games more than most people, but look at Star Wars Outlaws, look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. These are two games that were pretty polished for the most part, that had pretty fun combat and a lot of things technically correct about them, but where they lacked, both of these games, was a story that you care about, characters that you care about, and a world that was just fun to explore. And for me, I would take a subpar game technically if it had great stories and a great map, and I liked exploring it. Like, for example, I've been talking about Stalker 2 a lot on this channel lately. That's a game that has a lot of technical flaws, but it has so much passion and soul within it. Yes, there's bugs and glitches galore. Yes, there's, again, a lot of stuff wrong with it, but I like exploring. I like the story. I like the characters. It just has that soul that so many games are lacking these days. Another game that I just started last night that kind of falls into the same boat is Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've been wanting to play that game for years. And again, I finally just started it yesterday. And a lot like Stalker 2, it has a lot of problems technically, but it just has so much passion in the game that I'm having so much fun with it. And again, I haven't played it, but I would think it's safe to assume that Skyrim is essentially the ultimate version of this, where the game itself is a lot greater than the sum of its parts. But to a certain degree, I can kind of understand what you're saying, because from what I've gathered, a lot of Skyrim's success these days comes from mods and things people add to the game that aren't really technically part of the game in its purest form. Now, this one was sent to me on Instagram. It says Resident Evil 2 Remake is better than the Resident Evil 4 remake. You know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know where I stand there, because I think both of those games are two of the best survival horror games of all time. And I don't think a lot of people are going to fundamentally disagree with you no matter what you pick as your favorite between Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake. It just comes down to, do you like a more action-oriented game, or do you like a game that's a bit slower and more methodical and more puzzle-driven like Resident Evil 2? Both have a great setting, both have a great map, Both have great stories, both have great gameplay. And again, I think it's just a personal preference thing. Me, at the end of the day, I think I like the Resident Evil 4 remake more, simply due to the fact that I want to play it more often. And replayability is arguably the biggest factor when it comes to how much I personally enjoy a game. But with that being said, Resident Evil 2 Remake is one of the best pure survival horror games that I've ever played. And there's absolutely no question that the Resident Evil 2 Remake kind of jump-started this new wave of survival horror games that we've been getting with things like Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake, Alone in the Dark Remake, Silent Hill 2 Remake. I apologize if it sounds like I'm a little incoherent and I'm just rambling. It's like 8 a.m. right now and I just drank a shit ton of coffee. But anyway, this next one says Bloodborne and Sekiro are the only good From Software games, and Lies of P is better than both of them. This hot take really interests me because From Software makes a lot of games, obviously. Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, and like you said, Bloodborne, Sekiro. But I want to hear from you more. I want to know why you like those games, but you don't like the other games, because they're all different. They all have their own distinct features and characteristics that make them stand out from other FromSoft games, but their heart and soul is the same for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, chances are if you like Dark Souls, you're gonna like Bloodborne, and chances are if you like Elden Ring, you're gonna like Sekiro. I know it's different universes and a different setting, and there are core features that are different, like I said, but for the most part, they're all Soulsborne games. You know what I mean? Like, they fit within the same thing. You get my point. First off, let me just say I do disagree with this because I really love Demon Souls, and like I said in my last video of this series, I'm currently playing through Elden Ring right now, and it's definitely one of the best video games I've ever played in my life, and I think by the time I finish it, it's going to be a top 5 game for me, if not a top 3 game. But with that being said, I wonder if the reason why you like Bloodborne and Sekiro and not the other ones, and Lies of P, even though that's not From Software, is because you're maybe not a fan of like traditional medieval, like English medieval inspired settings, you know, like knights in armor with swords and shields and very European style castles and dragons and that sort of thing, you know, just traditional fantasy inspired by Europe. I wonder if that's the reason, because obviously Bloodborne has guns and it's a bit more modern. I know it's not modern, but it's a bit more modern in terms of its setting and its style, and its design isn't exactly medieval. It's a bit more gothic. And then obviously Sekiro is very Asian inspired, and then Lies of P, again, it's not medieval. So I want to hear from you. I want to know why you like these games, but you don't like the other ones. Again, you're not saying that you like Bloodborne and Sekiro more. You're saying they're the only good ones. So I want to know why you like those ones, but you don't like the others. I'm genuinely curious. But with the statement that Lies of P is better than both of them, I've never played Lies of P. I want to eventually, but haven't played it yet. Now this one says Sly Cooper 3 is the best in the series, even better than 2. Never played the Sly Cooper games, so people in the comments let me know if you agree with this person or not. But this next one says PS Vita could have been as good as the Nintendo Switch if it had better games on it. Well, you know, I feel like the success of any console is 100% or at least 95% determined on the games. Like, people want to play the games. It doesn't matter if a console is great if you have nothing to play on it, you know what I mean? But with that being said, I don't necessarily think the PS Vita was powerful enough to really have games that are talked about on the same scale as like actual AAA games. Now, I know the Nintendo Switch isn't the most powerful console in the world. Trust me, I know that. It's basically got the power of a PS3. It's basically 2 generations outdated in terms of its hardware, but the games on it don't necessarily feel that way. They're made in a way, the graphical style is designed to work on that console. And I'm not the biggest handheld gaming person ever. I had a PSP, and then I had the Nintendo Switch. But I can say from my limited perspective that when I got a Nintendo Switch and I played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on it for the first time, it was the first time in my life that I felt like I was playing a true video game handheld as opposed to playing a game meant to be handheld, if that makes any sense. But with that being said, I do wish that the PS Vita was given more love by Sony. I think it had a lot more potential than it was given. Another one that was sent on Instagram, it just says try Stellar Blade or Halo or Nier. That's not a hot take or a bad opinion, my friend. That's just, okay, I will. Well, to be fair, I've never played Nier. I've never really played Halo either. I've dabbled in them way back in the day when I was a little kid, just like a level of a campaign here or there. But ever since I got an Xbox Series X, I do play Halo Infinite multiplayer, and I love it. But eventually, I will go back and I will actually experience the Halo games. I'll play the campaigns, I'll play the multiplayer, and who knows, maybe I'll make a video series about me experiencing Halo for the first time. As far as Stellar Blade goes, that's a game I do want to get to eventually. I did play the demo for it though. The video is on my channel. If you want to hear my thoughts on the demo, check that out. And then the last one for today. This one says more games should experiment with genre shifts. RE5 and 6 may not have been survival horror games, but they were some of the best co-op action games of the 360 generation. That is a statement that I 100% agree with. Yakuza's shift into turn-based combat was handled excellently, along with Persona's occasional rhythm or fighting game. I love it when franchises take risks and try new things, and I feel like we as gamers don't reward the teams who do so. I think that's a very fair sentiment, and I agree with it for the most part. I haven't played Yakuza, and I haven't played, what's the other one you said? I haven't played Persona either. But Resident Evil is my favorite video game franchise of all time, so I can absolutely talk on that. And I agree with that sentiment for the most part. I actually really like it when gaming franchises give you spin-offs that are almost a completely different genre. However, I do get the hesitation from a lot of gamers when this happens in a mainline entry, because when it comes to hardcore dedicated fan bases, and you have a game that they love completely shift genres, they get worried that it's the studio, the developers turning their backs on them completely and making the franchise that they love be something that they didn't fall in love with. Like, I'm looking back to when Resident Evil 5 came out and when Resident Evil 6 came out. I loved those games and I still love those games. I think those games are so fun. And I think that they were underrated when they came out. And I had a lot of fun playing them. But even as I was having fun playing through RE5 and I was having fun playing through RE6, in my mind, I was thinking, I don't want this to be what Resident Evil is forever. And then after that, we got things like Resident Evil Revelations and Resident Evil Revelations 2, which were more horror-centric games, but the core gameplay, the way the games felt, the way the games operated felt like it was more action-focused. Like it was an action game just disguised as a horror game in terms of its setting. And that still wasn't what I wanted. So when it comes to most franchises, I do understand why a lot of people don't want huge genre shifts, but I do think it would be accepted a lot more if studios made these things spin-offs. And they made it very clear that despite the fact that this game is very different, it's not necessarily where the future of the franchise is going to be forever. I actually think that Nintendo does a phenomenal job with this. I mean, look at Super Mario Odyssey and then Super Mario Wonder, or look at Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but then look at Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Those games are completely different. You could arguably say they're completely different genres and they feel entirely different to play, but yet they fit perfectly within their respective franchise. And me, on a personal level, I love it when gaming franchises feel distinctly different. It's one of the reasons, not to just keep going back to Resident Evil, but it's one of the reasons that Resident Evil is my favorite video game franchise of all time, because practically, for the most part, every single game feels in its heart and soul like a Resident Evil game. It shares the same soul, it shares the same DNA, but they feel fundamentally different. Like if you play, again, Resident Evil 2 Remake and then Resident Evil 4 Remake, they feel very different. If you play Biohazard and then you play Village, they feel very different, but it's clear they belong together. And I know I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. Let me go back to your main point, that you think that studios should take risks and change up their genre more often, and when they do so, they should be rewarded. Oh, this is so stressful because, like I just said, I agree with this for the most part, but at the same time, there are some franchises where I don't want to change completely, or even for the most part, because it just wouldn't work that way. I think this is a case-by-case basis, and I think every franchise is going to be different, but for franchises where it works, I agree. I think that maybe to, save face and to not get public outcry and backlash from franchises' respective core fan bases, they should probably make it clear that these games that they do it for are spin-offs. But yeah, I agree with this on a case-by-case basis. Again, there are some franchises where I think they should stick to what makes them good. Yes, evolve and become better and do things that are different so it doesn't just feel like you're playing the same game over and over again. But for the most part, I think they should stick to what makes them great. But there are plenty of franchises that I think are best when they evolve, when they change, where each game feels very, very different, even if it's completely swapping genres, like you say. But one thing I can say I do really, really agree with is that we should reward the teams who do so. I think that's the case 100%, because look at things like Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown, a game that came out earlier this year that I reviewed. I really, really liked it. And it was way different than any other Prince of Persia game, at least from what I know. And that game was really fun and really good, but it didn't get really any love from the, huge gaming audiences of the world. But anyway, that's it for the hot takes for today. I'll post again, within a few weeks asking for more, so look out for that. Again, follow me on Instagram, I'll post it there, or leave a hot take or a bad opinion in the comments of this video and I'll respond to it in the next one. But anyway, if you're watching this far in this video, I imagine you're a pretty dedicated subscriber. So thank you for watching this video as far as you have. Thank you for watching all of my videos. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.